Did you know using your browser in incognito mode doesn't actually protect your privacy? Take back your privacy with IPVanish VPN. Just one tap and all your data, passwords, communications, browsing history, and more will be instantly protected. IPVanish makes you virtually invisible online. Use IPVanish on all your devices, anytime you go online at home and especially on public Wi-Fi. Get IPVanish now for 70% off a yearly plan with this exclusive offer at ipvanish.com/audio.
Hello, Internet. Welcome to the Four Post Bed. I've been up, I think it's around about 11, and I briefly rose, went into the kitchen, made a bit of food and a coffee, and I've been swinging in the swinging chair for some time, just letting the day go by, and it was, I have to say, an absolute pleasure just to do nothing. I had a really constructive week with the Book of Immersion. I'm ready to do the next episode, which will be chapter 24, right? And looking forward to that. Might start it tonight, definitely do it tomorrow. So that's really exciting. But the big news, I suppose, is that I did my first music video using music from the Book of Immersion. Now, when I write the Book of Immersion, when I do the animations, the reading ones, I sort of, my method was to read the story or get an AI to read it, an AI voice to read it, and overlay it with visuals, animations, artify them, get the result I wanted within the capabilities of the software that I can afford. That's always the issue, isn't it? To make a film, you can spend millions and you still have to be savvy about, there are still restrictions you have to abide by. And when you're a pauper, such as myself, the restrictions are rigid. So there is no flexibility whatsoever. So I've been experimenting with lots of different pieces of software. So CapCut, I've got it for another month, but I don't think I'm going to use it after this month because it's a bit clunky for what it can offer. What it offers is a lot of fancy lights and shimmers for very short videos. You can't really use those, that titivation in a long video. It becomes very boring if you use it for any length of time. So it was absolutely wonderful for making me look beautiful. So I will be doing a couple of videos probably this week before I run out. To last me the full year, hopefully. Even if they're just, if I just sit there and read a chapter and I can split it up into chunks and put them out on the YouTube. Remembering I'm not a fan of YouTube I just hate all this algorithm stuff. Facebook as well, every time I put up something that is vaguely critical, or not even critical towards Israel, but in support of murdered children in Palestine. Perhaps I should frame it that way. The default being a criticism of Israel, and it isn't. It's the default. They assume, Facebook assumes, and any comment or anything supporting, Palestinian food or rights or human rights or anything like that is completely and utterly, it just disappears into the ether. Nobody sees it, and that's the algorithm. So they shadow ban you basically. It's just like, oh God, it's pathetic. Again, really childish, just so childish. Grown-ups can make up their own opinions. They don't need Facebook to tell them what to think, do they? So anyway, yes, where was I? The shorts. I really did like the shorts for each chapter of Immersion. However, there's a lot of work for one little chapter. And I suppose they're quite big let's say they're 1,000 words. I'm guessing they are, but anywhere between about 800 and 1,500 words. So not huge chapters. But to do the to get the clips, remembering I'm using AI because I can't pay actors, and nobody wants to see my old mug on, starring in every single episode, unless it's been put through the Hollywood filter on CapCut, of course. In which case, yeah, but that's costing £20 a month. It's a lot of money. So yeah, I've kind of been thinking, how can I maximize the use of my time and monetize each video? And the obvious solution is, as I'm putting all my tracks on Bandcamp, to make a video for them. It's 3 minutes long. It takes just as long to make a 60-second epic video, movie style, as it does to make the three. I think it was 4 minutes 40 yesterday. You can use the clips for a bit longer, and you can do a bit more massaging. You can use a bit more slow-mo, loads of effects, really cool effects. This is just using Final Cut Pro. Oh, it's got so many different softwares that I use. So this is using Final Cut Pro, which is the only thing I hate about it is that the buttons sometimes don't seem to work. They're much better if you make everything big. So if you're on your iPad, which I am, just enlarge the screen and to do it that way. So somebody's being very noisy on the roof. I don't know if you can hear that. It's been happening a lot lately. They must be doing stuff. Anyway, I was very pleased with the film. Look, it's a bit cheesy. It's not the best artwork I've ever created, but the point of it, I suppose, is not to distract too much from the song. So the song takes precedence, as the Americans say. If you have too many visuals going on, it might be too difficult to hear what's happening in the lyrics, and vice versa, I guess. Although, I would put myself as a musician top of the pyramid if I was forced to do one. The music's at the top, and then under that comes, the other stuff, art probably, and then writing probably, and then under that lunch, obviously. So I'm pleased with it because it doesn't detract too much, because I kind of dig the way that I've done some massaging of it and making it palatable. I'm sure I'll get better at them. I'm not too concerned about living within the confines of the software that's available to me. A long time ago, when we all first started doing YouTube, there was a software thing. Was it Picasa? I think it was called Picasa, and it was something to do with Google. And they had all these things that you could do to pictures. Well, they stopped it after a bit, and I'd done, loads of sort of projects I'd completed using just that, especially artworks. It was really good for filtering and stuff like that. And when they, got rid of it, several things happened. I mean, one thing that happened was I could no longer access all the stuff on the Picasa account or whatever it was. I lost loads of stuff, and I hadn't saved it because I didn't value it. And now I look back and I just think I really should have kept all that, because I can see some of the work that I did using that, and it actually looks really retro and interesting because it's not around anymore. So it's different. So if you've got old stuff, it's really worth just keeping it, even if it was low level, poor quality. A lot of my stuff was done. A lot of my stills were taken on a Sony movie cam, and of course, when you take a still, the quality's not particularly good because it needs to be much. It doesn't need to be so sharp when you're doing TV. Well, of course, they've brought out 4K, 6K, 8K now. AI is making everything really sharp. So there's this sort of real push towards absolute high definition. I'm not quite sure I get it, because we don't see in HD. Well, certainly when you're older, you don't. Everything's got a blurry edge now to me with my vision. Yes, Romeo. And I kind of like it. When I put my glasses on, things look very different, and they don't look nearly so nice. So yeah, anyway, I've learnt my lesson about not chucking stuff away, B, backing stuff up, and C, seeing the value in it. You know, having that vintage aura about something. You know, it's the fashion, isn't it? And it sort of comes around again. And now, of course, they're trying to put filters on. If you go to CapCut, they're trying to put filters onto, or you know, your video, your photographs that make it look noughties, 80s, 90s, 70s, 60s, whatever. But if you kept your stuff, I mean, the internet hasn't been going that long, but from the noughties, certainly. When I I went to university and studied film. I did a master's in film at Edinburgh Uni. And when I look at the stuff that I made there, I just think, wow, it's got a really lovely quality to it. But it's, you know, it's not HD. I mean, it was HD then. It's not HD now. Quite the opposite. Quite the opposite. So anyway, get back to working within the confines of my equipment. So I'm using Final Cut Pro on my iPad. Right, now, because I have terrible neck pain and RSI from the years and years of editing, I do most of my work with my back supported in bed. And sometimes I'm practically flat. And the lovely thing about an iPad is, you know, if you put your knees up, you can lean your iPad there and you can do whatever it is. So you can actually edit a whole film in that position. And that's what I have to do. I don't know if it's being, you know, worsened because of arthritis. It may well be that, you know, that I've got arthritis now in my neck, probably caused by the same thing. So yeah, CapCut is probably going to go. I've got a free 360 video thing that I downloaded, but I've got a problem with my GoPro at the moment. I can't get the footage off, so I've always just got it off with Wi-Fi, but it doesn't seem to be working, so I have to figure out how to transfer the 3D off of the card. It's probably much quicker, probably much easier, onto my Mac, my big Mac, the big girl's Mac. I've got a big girl's Mac. So I'll be using that. I think it's called 360 video. I think it's as simple as that, and it's really very good at what it does. It's perfect for what I need. So CapCut doesn't do 360. I mean, I don't do a lot of 360. The footage that I take for the kids show, the Bug's Eye View, was all done on my phone this week, and the zoom is a bit blurry, but I kind of like that look. I kind of appreciate it. But I don't know if I'm alone in that. I'm not sure. You'll be the judge if you pop over to Telltale Kids on YouTube, or the fan club. We've got a fan club now as well, which is over on Gumroad. So that's telltalekids.gumroad.com. Yeah, I think that sounds about right. No idea, actually. I really should know the names of my own websites. But if you go to any of the websites, you can find the kids section. It's quite easy to find, to source. And it's also on the YouTube. You go to YouTube and it's there on the bio. So that's straightforward enough. So you'll find it. But I really like this, you know, it's the opposite to sort of really overstimulation. This slightly, almost romanticized footage, you know, of insects. I got some footage of a damselfly, which was really nice. And the place where I was staying was there was no pollution there. It was a huge estate with no cars, and you could really tell from the blackberry growth, and probably because no dogs were peeing on them as well. Probably. So yeah, keeping to that. And what software did I use for that? I used Final Cut Pro entirely for those little videos. So having completed the first, which goes with my track Mr. Capricious, which is now on Bandcamp and Gumroad, I think, as well, actually. I'm sort of doubling up. Where you can buy it as a single. I'm doing a bit of an experiment. I took it off Apple and everywhere, just to see what would happen, to see if, I don't know, I'll probably put it back on iTunes because I really want to write new stuff now and think about that, think about moving forward rather than worrying about the back catalogue. I'm really itching to get going, making some new music. So if you want to know more about the more personal side of the musicianship and everything, pop over to my iServalan podcast. That's a bit less tech. No, it's not. They're both the same, really. I mean, I just talk on that as well. Sorry, guys.